Previously on the all-new adventures of the Doctor Who Book Club podcast.
In Minnesota, it's still very much winter here. We've
Yes.
got lots of snow everywhere, so that may have helped inspire my next selection.
Okay.
The long winter continues, and I haven't had an opportunity to pick an 8th Doctor book yet.
Ooh.
And I had a lot of fun when we reviewed Trading Futures, so I thought, why not try to capture lightning in a bottle again? Same Doctor, same author.
Yes.
So for February, we're going to be reading Father Time by Lance Parkin.
Oh, brilliant. Oh, it's fantastic. And also, this is available in ebook format as well.
Yeah, it's widely available on many platforms, so...
Yeah, so... Oh.
And now our story continues.
Welcome, everyone, to the all-new adventures of the Doctor Who Book Club podcast. This is Matt in Minnesota.
Chris in South London. How's it going, Matt?
Pretty good. Happy February 2021, Chris. It feels like we're making some progress through the dark times. Slow progress, but...
Well, time is moving, yes.
we may not be.
Yes.
But time
Yes.
is moving all around us.
Yes.
Rather
yes,
like
yeah.
our selection for this month, I think.
Indeed.
Have you caught the new short by Pete McTighe, the 24 Carat?
No.
Oh,
No, I haven't.
It's
No.
fun. It's like a 7-minute little Mel adventure that you never thought you needed.
Okay. Oh, is that the trailer?
Yes. Yeah.
Yes. Oh, yes. When you said 24 Carat, thought, yeah, it's a thing where Mel does Dragon's Den.
Yes. Or Shark Tank in the... Yep.
Yes,
Yep.
or Shark Tank if you're American. Yeah, I did see that. I must say, I found it less successful than the Sophie Aldred one that they did for season 26. But that might also just be because I'm a lot more sympathetic to season 26 than I am to season 24.
I'm excited for it, even though, that season isn't my favorite, but it's still a good transitional season into, the later McCoy stuff. And
Yeah.
here in the States, we still can't order the season 8 Blu-rays, so waiting for those yet first. And then we've already got the season 24 on the horizon, so.
Cool. Did I hear you say that we have book news for the good people?
We do, yes. We've got quite a few new book items this month. So first off, we're doing these somewhat chronologically. Sophie Aldred's book At Childhood's End is getting a paperback version, and that's out now. Of the various versions, I'd recommend the audiobook version because she does a really good job with it, as you'd expect. And then following that, the first 2 of 4 Team TARDIS Time Diaries, featuring the most recent TARDIS team of Ryan Graham and Yaz, are due out in early March. Those are the illustrated versions. And then from BBC Audio, we have a new line of Beyond the Doctor titles. So this will be like almost taking the idea behind the Companions of Doctor Who, but in audio form. The first of 4 features Romana in E-Space after she leaves in Warrior's Gate, and it's by Stephen Gallagher.
Wow.
And it's called The Kairos Ring.
Okay.
And then 3 other titles have been announced, including Sleeper Agents, Bessie Come Home, which is by Paul Mars.
Oh, I've heard about... I'd heard that Paul Mars was doing something with Bessie, but yes. Oh, okay.
And there's one intriguingly called London 1965.
Oh, brilliant. Who's written that? Is it Sophie?
It hasn't been announced yet who, so for that one.
Oh,
So
oh, I hope it's our Sophie.
fingers crossed. That'd be great.
Yes.
And then, of course, we've got the 7 new Target novelizations coming out on March 11th, which we've talked about on the show before. And then they'll be out a month or 2 later in North America, unless you're importing them. We've got which I may be doing. We've got Dalek by Rob Shearman, The Witchfinders, which sports the new logo by Joy Wilkinson. As per Target novelizations, they change it up. And we've got Resurrection and Revelation of the Daleks by Eric Sayward, The Crimson Horror by Mark Gatiss, and The Pirate Planet by James Goss, as well as Gary Russell and his novelization of the TV movie. Three of them are slimmed down versions of their larger hardcover counterparts, so Pirate Planet and the two Dalek ones. And it'll be really interesting to see what's been reworked for the TV movie one. Gary Russell mentioned on Twitter that it has about 5 to 10% new content, so part of it might be him reworking the ending fight battle, which was largely figured out in studio and not detailed in the script. In the previous draft, he just sort of winged it and then they fight. So I'd also be really disappointed if Gary doesn't get to novelize Night of the Doctor, because I really love it when you have two different authors across two different Target books describing the same regeneration scene, because we see that that was detailed in Stephen Moffat's Day of the Doctor. But I'm very excited for more Targets, and hopefully this is the beginning of, let's do all the New Who ones. Why not?
Yeah.
And then speaking of Target novelizations, back in the fall of 2019, so this feels like, over a decade ago.
Yes.
The BBC Books on Twitter held a Terrance Dicks World Cup, where Twitter users could vote on their favorite Target novelizations by Terrance. Well, those are finally coming out in 2 volumes, so presumably 5 books per volume, and those are due out on August 26th. I had honestly thought that the company had forgotten about these, but I guess, things take time, plus COVID delays on top of that.
Yeah.
And if folks want the rundown of those 10 titles, they are The Five Doctors, The Auton Invasion, Genesis of the Daleks, The Abominable Snowmen, Wheel in Space, which is a very rare one, Dalek Invasion of Earth, The Pyramids of Mars, Horror of Fang Rock, Talons of Wang Chiang, and Day of the Daleks. And then finally, hot off the press, Big Finish has just announced a new range of audio-exclusive novels. So these are longer-form audios, around 6 hours each, and they have 6 titles planned at this time. They've only announced the first one, which is Scourge of the Cybermen by Simon Guerrier, and read by John Culshaw. And of course they've been doing, audio short trips for some time, but this is their first venture into really longer form stuff.
Yeah, and that features Sarah Jane as well, doesn't it? Which did make me try to remember whether in Revenge of the Cybermen she knows who the Cybermen are. I can't remember. It's been a long, long time since I last saw Revenge of the Cybermen.
Yeah, I'm not sure if she does or not, but yeah, so lots of book titles coming out, in the next year or so. So
yes,
lots to look forward to.
Yes, it's nice to have something to look forward to, eh?
Indeed it is. So let's turn to show and tell. Chris, what do you have for us this month?
So this month I was toying with 2 things, but what I've gone for is Daleks. We've spoken about it, I think last month or so, but I didn't actually get around to finishing watching it until just recently. This is the animated part of Time Lord Victorious, which is free on YouTube, and it's good fun, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
Say? Yeah. I mean, okay. I can't remember whether it was you that described the graphics as being a bit like a late 90s video game cutscene. They're not complicated graphics, let's put it that way. However, it's good fun. It just barrels along, and kind of wondering maybe we could have the mechanoids back at some point. Because they're good in this. They're really useful.
I think Big Finish has used them a couple of times, but not to the extent that they've been featured in the animated series. And
no.
And the graphics, for as simplistic and stylized as they are, I mean, it is quite impressive when you see thousands of Daleks on the screen all firing at the same time. It's quite fun. Yeah. And, for the price point, we really can't complain either.
No. And so hopefully, if there's another event like Time Lord Victorious or something like that, I mean, hopefully we do get more original animation, because I think it's good fun. It's a good way to keep people entertained, because we still don't know exactly when the new season is going to be upon us. I mean, I hear rumours of October, but there's a lot of stuff that can happen between now and then. So,
Well, yeah, I mean, definitely something to watch in the gap there. It's
Yes.
well worth it, and it does. I feel like, especially if you've read the Titan comic entry into, I think it's Defender of the Daleks. It really does. Well, I think the animated series takes place right before it, and then the Titan stuff happens right after. But it is intriguing to see how they're connected and what plot threads carry over and stuff too.
Yeah, but it also completely works just as a standalone.
It does, yeah.
Yeah, and the other thing I was going to mention as the second thing was I was watching an online music festival, because that's the world we live in over here. And they had the band The Supernaturals on, who were a 90s Britpop act, who had a song called Smile that I'd kind of forgotten about, that has the line, "I feel like a Dalek inside."
Huh.
And and it's all about enforced jollity and stuff like that. And I remember it was in the charts in like '97. I was just shocked to hear a popular song referencing Doctor Who in a way that wasn't kind of clumsy. And I mean, okay, sure, it wasn't particularly in-depth reference, but it was just kind of like, oh, cool.
Especially during that time period too, like where Doctor Who was almost
a bit of a joke. Yeah, that was kind of cool. So, Anyway, right, what have you got, Matt?
Well, I am going to talk about Console Room. We had the 8th annual convention a few weekends ago, and I'm wearing the official Console Room t-shirt right now with its cool design. And they're counting it as an official like convention that happened, even though it was entirely virtual, but just really blown away by how fantastic the transition was, because I know there have been other conventions that have done, some online activities, but Console Room really went full out. They had crafting projects, activities, scavenger hunts, a virtual escape room. We had a fantastic lineup of guests, including Fraser Hines, Gareth David Lloyd, and the complete Paternoster gang. And then a special surprise appearance by Jonah Ray, who moderated the MST3K panel, which was really fun. And most of the panels are available online on YouTube, and would highly recommend checking them out. Really just kind of fostered a community they had a Discord going at the same time, so people were sharing pics of dressing up in costume. The Con Suite was putting out cooking videos for making things like, here's how to make homemade pizza. And there was a couple of RPGs running. Just so much going on, and lots of participants from all around the world, including as far away as New Zealand. Lots of kind of side audio and video chats, live panels. Some were pre-recorded. Just lots of choice. That's one of the things I think that made it really exciting, was that different panels going at the same time, and you had to choose. Like, sure, most of them you could watch later again on YouTube, but having that choice, like, what do I want to attend, from 4 to 5 p.m., that just, it really did give it that convention feel. So kudos to Amber, Jason, Natasha, and the whole convention committee. There were a lot of people mentioning Sunday night that they were exhausted in a good way, just like they had attended the real thing. So it went off really well.
Yeah, I went along to the Fraser Hines. It was just terrific. Yeah, he's such an engaging interviewee, and it was just fun seeing all the questions kind of coming in, and
he still had his little stuffed Yeti on his sofa that he picked up in Minneapolis.
Yes, yeah. I guess people could be phoning it in, couldn't they? Like, if you was like, oh yeah, so I'm just not having to leave the house or anything, not having to make any special effort, But wow, I mean, he really did. He shared a lot as well. I mean, there were stories, like the stuff about his early career of Charlie Chaplin. I mean, I don't remember ever having known about that before.
That's right. Yeah, he talked about that, and he made clear to mention he wasn't in a silent film. It was later in Chaplin's career. He's not. He said he's not that old, but just that he got a chance to work with him. Yeah,
it was really good, really impressive. Because I've been to, I think, one other virtual con, which was in the comparatively early days of the pandemic, and that it was fantastic. Yeah, so I echo what you said. It was a brilliant job.
Really happy with how it all went. And for me, Jonah Ray showing up, I'm as much of a Mystery Science Theater 3000 fan as I am Doctor Who fan. So that for me was just fantastic. And he was making lots of Doctor Who related comments too, where you could tell that he's, a fan of the show and appreciated being, welcomed into the Doctor Who family. So
cool. Brilliant.
So this month, speaking of being stuck on Earth,
Yes.
we are reading Father Time by Lance Parkin. So this was originally published in January of 2001.
So it's celebrated its 20th birthday. It can't yet drink in America, but it probably has been able to. Well, yes, I don't know. It's probably faked its ID, hasn't it?
And this is the second book we've read by Lance Parkin featuring the Eighth Doctor.
Yeah.
And he wrote this one first, and then the Trading Futures, which we've read, happens later.
Yeah.
As that one includes companion Angie, who's introduced in the next book following this one.
Yes.
And we talked about Lance Parkin a little bit last time, but he's done so much Doctor Who work over the years. Although he hasn't done a whole lot with Doctor Who that I'm aware of in the past few years. Most recently, I think he's been busy keeping his A History series, expansive chronology of all of the shows and audios and book titles, most recently updated in 2012 with co-author Lars Pearson.
Yeah. I think possibly the most recent Doctor Who fiction he's done was the 10th Doctor novel, The Eyeless. You're right. It has been a bit of a while, and it would be fantastic if he was to come back at some point. Yeah.
And this title, as we should mention too, is widely available in an ebook format. So
Yes.
if you haven't had a chance to read it yet, do pick up a copy and help support Lance that way.
Yes. Obviously, as we talk about the book, we are going to be spoiling it. So do feel free to stop the podcast and go away and read it. It is great that some of the authors have, from the BBC Book Days, have been able to put their stuff up on various ebook stores. I do wonder whether, quite what the situation is, whether it's a case that more of them can or stuff like that, because it is a great way of getting these books that are now quite rare out there.
And it seems really to be like an author by author basis. Like, I don't know if it seems like the authors own their work, and whereas I think, with Star Trek, you'd have like a publisher like Simon & Schuster come in and just say, we're republishing all of it in ebook form, and here's how it's going to happen. It seems to be a different sort of arrangement in Doctor Who space.
Yeah, and we don't seem to have like an Alan Dean Foster kind of situation.
Fortunately, yeah.
Yes, yes. So, right. Okay, shall we start with a previously?
Yes.
Yes, because a little bit has happened in Doctor Who.
Yeah, this is book 5 of 6 in a particular, it's called like an Earth arc, I think.
Yes. So, previously on Doctor Who, Gallifrey has been destroyed, and the Time Lords have been largely wiped out, virtually destroying the TARDIS in the process. So, the Doctor's memories have been wiped, and both he and the remnants of his TARDIS are left on a train in late 19th century England. As he's trying to come to his senses, he finds a note in his pocket instructing him to meet someone called Fitz in St. Louis on February the 8th, 2001. The Doctor, with no idea who he is, knows that somehow he will have to live through the 20th century until he can get some answers. So...
Yeah, and so this is very much the Doctor on the slow path, as he referenced in The Girl in the Fireplace.
Yeah.
Living through the entirety of the 20th century. And what a fantastic idea for like an arc, it's sustained over several books.
Yeah.
And so he's already had a number of different adventures, including in, I think, Russia in the 1950s.
And now we find him in 1981.
And so the book itself, we have 28 titled chapters and a prologue, chapter 0. And we don't really get into chapter 0 that much, but it felt odd and I guess an intriguing sense because, I was coming into this completely blind, so it felt really deliberately vague. And, there's a mention of a ruined city, and I was thinking, that could be Gallifrey, it might be Skaro.
Yeah.
There's descriptions of domed buildings and flying saucers, which could really apply to either planet, and then... With like the knife and the Civil War reference, my mind went to Faction Paradox, perhaps, and just all sorts of intriguing possibilities that it starts with. And the book itself is organized into 3 parts, all named after 1980s cartoons. So we have part 1 called Battle of the Planets, part 2 is called Masters of the Universe, and part 3 is called Defenders of the Earth. Did you watch? For me, I was mainly a Masters of the Universe fan, but I did also watch Defenders of the Earth. It was like a B team, like of Mandrake the Magician and the Phantom and all the King's Feature Syndicate characters.
Yes, it was kind of an Avengers equivalent, wasn't it? Yes, yeah. I watched all three. And Masters of the Universe, I didn't so much watch as play with the various figures from and everything. Though I think the one that I watched the most was Battle of the Planets. I absolutely adored Battle of the Planets. I just remember being at my grand's because it seemed to be in perpetual repeat over like summer holidays. So Battle of the Planets is surprisingly cold summer's days in Devon.
And the back of the book features a suggested album listening list with 24 tracks. It doesn't quite work out to a chapter a track, but it's close.
Yeah.
And I must say that Lance Parkin and I have very different tastes in 80s music. This felt it veered a little bit more punk, whereas I like to hang out in the electro synth aisle of the music store. But, to each their own. And speaking of the 1980s, we're reading this at the same time RTD's new series came out on Channel 4, It's a Sin, which comes to HBO Max later this month, and I'm very much looking forward to that.
Yes, I've only seen one episode of it so far, but yes. I think I'll hold my fire, because I suspect that at least one of us will have it as show and tell next time.
And then part of this novel takes place in it's not.
Go on, say it.
Derbyshire.
Derbyshire.
Derbyshire. No.
Derbyshire. No, Derbyshire. Yes.
Derbyshire. Okay.
Derbyshire. Yes.
I was like, however I pronounce it, it's going to be like one of those Leicester Square type things where I'm going to be completely wrong.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, British pronunciation is like on a dare, isn't it? I mean, it's like, this is not how you would pronounce it, but here you go.
This will be wrong, but I'll try anyway.
Yes.
So, Chris, can you describe where Derbyshire is for listeners who may be unfamiliar?
Yes. Okay. So Derbyshire, it's in the northern bit of the Midlands. So it's in the middle of England, bordering places like Lancashire. It is quite hilly. Is Derbyshire, because it's home to the Pennines, which is a kind of like a hill range that goes up beyond Manchester, and it's also home to the Peak District. So there is a lot of very sloping countryside. Yeah, there's Derby in it, which is a big old kind of like industrial city. But like when I think of Derbyshire, I think of beautiful villages, and one good shorthand is, even though it's a different county, would be if you're kind of picturing all creatures great and small from a kind of a countryside point of view, you're not far wrong. Was
this the same hills that were referenced in The Witchfinders, or is that a different?
Yes, it's the Pennines in Lancashire.
Okay,
but yeah, so it's that kind of thing. Though that said, any good Lancastrian will tell you that the Witchfinders, the places that doesn't look anything like the Pennines. Certainly doesn't look anything like Pendle Hill. But Derbyshire's great. I must say I am more familiar with the Lancashire side of the Pennines. So it's a fantastic place that when pubs are back open, one thing that I would dearly love to do would just be have a long weekend and just kind of go stay in a nice little country pub with a roaring fire, and that just sounds heavenly.
It does.
Yes, there's lots of beautiful little spots up there. So
well, shall we begin?
Yes, before I get too sad in the past. Right, okay. So, we start in 1981, and hordes of UFO spotters descending upon the Derbyshire village of Greyfirth, because strange lights have been spotted in the winter sky. And one of these spotters, a guy called Arnold Knight, is attacked by a robot in the fields outside of town. And he's struck by a car when he flees onto the icy road. And the driver of this car, a local schoolteacher called Debbie Castle, is unable to flag anyone down. And the only car that passes by is a black Volkswagen, which is being driven by a strange young couple who refuse to help her. So Debbie sets off on foot in search of help and finds a local farmhouse with a police box in the front yard. And the farm's owner, who is a doctor, allows her to use his phone to ring for an ambulance and offers her a cup of tea to relax after kind of seeing Arnold off. She has to get back to her rather grumpy husband, Barry. But seeing that the doctor plays chess, she invites him to her school's chess club, which meets on Tuesdays. But as Tuesday draws to a close, the club's opponents cancel due to bad weather. And, when it's up in the hills, it can get treacherous up there. I've had to make, certainly on the Lancashire Pennines, I've had to rearrange social engagements because, like, no, I don't want to risk it. Yeah. So, the club opponents have cancelled, and Debbie then sees the strange couple from the Volkswagen who are standing by the gate and watching the children leave. And the couple have the rather curious names of Rum and Falash. One can only conclude that Lance Parkins is a fan of the Pogues, because there's an album with a title that's "This is a pud on."
Huh.
It's also a saying about sailors in the 19th century. So these are two character names I found it very hard to get to just take seriously. But anyway, so Rum and Falash sound amused when Debbie confronts them, and they tell her that they are the Hunters, which she assumes is their surname rather than a description. But when the Doctor shows up, the Hunters grow pale and depart rather quickly. The mission of the Hunters is to find the last one, and that's difficult enough with the UFO spotters roaming the countryside. And their associate, who's chosen the name Mr. Gibson whilst he's on Earth, isn't making things any easier. If he learns that the Doctor is present, things will get fraught, because Mr. Gibson and the Doctor have a past.
Yeah, Mr. Gibson, someone the Doctor has history with. My mind immediately went to, could this possibly be the Master?
Yes.
And then the robot that attacked Arnold Knight at the beginning, from the description of it, I almost thought it might have been Professor Kettlewell's robot from Robot. But so it was kind of a interesting setup, and just lots of possibilities going on. And
but I also thought, again, just going back to the naming, so you've got chess going on, and you've got one character called Knight, one character called Castle. Okay.
Yeah, this is a little on the nose, perhaps.
It is a little on the nose, yes.
When Debbie tries to use, because before she knocks on the Doctor's house, she does go to the police box first, because they were still in use. You think about the overpass in Logopolis, kind of on their way out, sort of.
Yeah, very much on their way out. Yeah.
But she does try the phone there first, and unlike Human Nature and the Empty Child, the phone door doesn't work or open with the Eighth Doctor's TARDIS here, and there's reasons for that, but I didn't catch on to them at the time. But all right, so the Doctor's at school visiting Debbie in the chess club, and when he learns that their match for that afternoon had been canceled due to the weather, he sets up 11 different chessboards and starts playing chess against Debbie and all of the kids in the club simultaneously. And this I found just to be a fantastic scene, just really fun, and I'm surprised that it hasn't been incorporated into a new Who episode. Like, it would have been perfect for school reunion or something, but it's just a really fun chapter to read.
So one thing I was just kind of thinking when we were saying about the snow is that there's a little bit of a snow stop play about the chess, and they make a reference to cricket matches getting stopped in the snow. And that is a real thing. The book says in 1 year in May it snowed. Actually, it was in June in the Pennines. The cricket match had to be abandoned due to snow. Yeah, it can get quite cold up there at any time of year.
In Minneapolis, we recently, within the past 10 years, we switched from an indoor Metrodome to an outdoor baseball stadium. And we've had several baseball games that have had to cancel due to snow in April, May, but never into June. So that's very impressive.
Yes. So that was in the 70s. So I suspect that it's not likely to be snowing in June these days due to climate. Yes. Anyway, right. Okay.
When Debbie finds the Doctor to be much more pleasant company than her husband Barry, and trying to think of topics to keep him talking, she mentions that her student Miranda has an odd birth defect. 2 perfectly formed hearts, one on each side of her body. The Doctor's fascinated, particularly when he realizes that Miranda is letting him win so he can make a clean sweep, and even more so when he hears that the children discussing the accident, and he learns that Arnold claims that a robot attacked him. The Doctor then asks Debbie to tell him all she knows, but they first wait for Miranda's mother to arrive to pick her up. and he discusses some of the UFO sightings and possibility of life on other worlds with Miranda as they wait. And she proves to be very bright, and one thing that is intriguing is both her and the doctor's breath doesn't condense in the cold air, which the doctor notices. And then the doctor visits the local pub with Debbie, where he admits that he doesn't remember anything about his life before waking up on a railway carriage many years ago. There's a wonderful little reference to a unit from the UFO spotters here, where they mention that there's a secret government organization that's going around and cleaning up evidence of UFOs throughout the years. And then Barry finds them in the pub together and jealously challenges the doctor to a game of snooker. And the doctor allows him to win, but he sinks all the balls in a single shot, and he just happens to do it in the wrong color order, and because he wasn't aware of that particular rule. And also, I liked Barry has a comment for the Eighth Doctor where he says, "He's weird. I don't like him. I bet he listens to Kate Bush." That was a wonderful comment. Oh.
Yeah. One of the things I do love about this is that, I say I was not paying a lot of attention in 1981. And, I wasn't even living in the UK at the time. But I do think there's an 80s-ness about this, but it isn't like an arch 80s-ness.
Yeah, I had the same thought. It's set in the 80s, but it doesn't take necessarily full use of the time period. Like it didn't, and not necessarily to its detriment either. It didn't feel quite as 80s as some of the other books we've read set in that time period, like say Blue Box does.
Yeah.
It's almost a more subtle version of the 80s.
Yeah.
And I hate to make this comparison, but it's almost like how Wonder Woman 84 could have gone much further into the 80s territory if it wanted to.
Yes, I've yet to see that. But yeah, you don't feel that the people are wearing shoulder pads and stuff. People are still wearing, there's still probably a fair amount of kind of like flares and various other, it all feels as if I've seen someone say about It's a Sin, or I get a similar vibe that it's like people have clothes and stuff from the 60s because that's what they can afford, and it isn't all, everybody is as 80s as possible. It just feel like how people were living rather than looking back and just 80s-fying it, everything. I don't know, am I making sense? Am I going to...
You are.
Yeah.
Along those same lines, I did find it a little odd and notable that no one brought up the possibility of the Doctor possibly being gay when his romantic life came up. I mean, I know it was the 80s and the early 80s, and a lot of that was unspoken, but the closest we get is that Kate Bush reference.
Yeah.
And Barry forbids Debbie from ever seeing the Doctor again, and she decides instead to start reading up on chess strategies, hoping to challenge the Doctor in a rematch someday. And in one of her chess books, she sees a photograph that was taken in Stalingrad in 1951, depicting the Doctor playing chess, and he appears just as he does now, 30 years later in 1981. And I think roundabout here is where our dramatic reading is. The Doctor's taken an interest in Miranda and offers to her parents to tutor her further.
Yeah, and our reading this time round is from a Derbyshire resident, no less, Alex Davis. He's a writing coach who I first met about a year ago when we were stuck in Wales in that kind of like country mansion.
Oh, in the Torchwood House.
Yeah, the Torchwood House. Yes. He's been running all manner of workshop events that are aimed at writers, not just genre writers, but though with a little bit of a particular eye on sci-fi and horror writing, and absolutely fantastic. And they're on a pay what you want kind of basis. If you look for Alex Davis writing.blogspot.com, and that's Davis without an E, and he often has events on in the Quad, which is where I think that's where Hooverville have their conventions, when we're allowed to have conventions. So do check his stuff out. He's a very, very knowledgeable chap.
Cool.
But anyway, right, shall we have a listen?
Yeah, let's.
Miranda sat at her desk waiting for the Doctor to start the lesson. The Doctor was at the back wall examining the pictures. With it being so cold and wet at the moment, we spend a lot of playtime in here drawing. The Doctor nodded. The back wall was covered in old squares of computer paper, blue tacked up. Almost every picture was of spaceships and alien monsters, vividly brought to life in crayons and paint. "What's that?" the Doctor asked. Miranda wasn't sure. I think that's Metal Mickey. It's a robot on telly. The doctor nodded and moved to the next picture. It's fascinating, they all come up with the same images. Flying discs, death rays, green monsters. Ah, they're just copying off the TV, Miranda told him. They say that sort of stuff in cartoons and comics, that's all. Or they just copy off each other. But all of them drawing spaceships and monsters. Well, that one's Monkey and Pigsy. The doctor peered at it. But all the others... It's the UFO. All the boys think they're Luke Skywalker or Flash Gordon. And what about the girls? We have to make do with being Princess Leia. The doctor raised an eyebrow. Make do? With being a princess? Oh, she doesn't do anything. Just gets captured and waits for the boys to rescue her. That's all women do in that sort of thing. I'd rather be Luke or Darth Vader. Miranda wondered where the doctor had gone to school. She just couldn't see him running around a playground. She couldn't imagine his school days at all. It was always odd to think that teachers had once been boys and girls, but it was impossible with the doctor. Why do you think the UFOs are coming here? He asked. They could be here because they want to conquer Earth, Miranda suggested. What makes you say that? The doctor asked, genuinely wanting to know. Wow, that's what they do in the films. There's that one with a flying saucer that lands outside the White House, and the army surrounds it with tanks and guns, and then a giant robot comes out and blasts them all. Miranda hesitated. I don't know why they start by conquering Great Earth, though. Perhaps they're here to help, the doctor suggested. Help what? Tell us where people are going wrong. Stop pollution. End wars. Miranda looked thoughtful. That would be better, she concluded. The doctor shook his head. If they were going to do that, they'd have landed, surely. They've not tried to make contact with us. It's almost as if they're monitoring us or searching for something. A thought struck him. Perhaps they're UFO spotters. Miranda giggled.
Thank you so much, Alex, for reading that.
Yeah, thank you very much.
I have to disagree with Miranda's characterization of Princess Leia here a little bit. Because, yeah, Han and Luke did rescue her, but she did end up rescuing them too when their rescue attempt, went awry. And, she does become a general eventually, so...
Yes, but 1981. Return of the Jedi's not come out yet.
That's true.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
Right. So the doctor, he's been speaking to Miranda, as we've heard, and so he's been fascinated by everything that he's been hearing about. So he visits the local hospital to speak to Arnold and also see if he can have a peek at Miranda's medical charts. So Mr. Gibson has heard that the doctor is around, and he orders the hunters to dispose of Arnold before the doctor intervenes. And unaware that they're already too late, the hunters disintegrate Arnold in his hospital bed.
And leaving just his cast, because he had broken his leg, which it did give me a bit of a chuckle.
Yeah.
There's also a scene where, the hunters are looking, they're still trying to find Miranda, so they're hanging out at this park. And there's a really creepy scene where there's this kid who wants to use the park bench to make out with his girlfriend, and you really think that the hunters are going to kill this kid, but they end up letting him go. But that scene I found really effective because it was just as menacing and creepy without the violence, before they went on and killed Arnold Knight in the hospital.
Yeah. So when the doctor learns of Arnold's disappearance, he confronts the hunters, who believe that he knows who they are and that he's just toying with them. There's one thing I do quite enjoy, that this book does lean into the amnesia angle. But yeah, so as the doctor leaves, Rum tells Falash that he slipped a mini nuclear bomb into the doctor's coat pocket. So if he starts to pose a real threat, they can dispose of him at any time. Keep an eye, listener, on that nuclear bomb.
And it's like a little micro.
Yes.
The doctor wouldn't even know it's there. It's so small.
Yeah, I'm kind of thinking like a USB stick, that kind of thing, if not even smaller than that. But the doctor, however, he's also done a bit of pickpocketing or fiddling around. He's nicked Rum's communicator. So that night, the doctor contacts Debbie, asking to borrow her car so he can track down some aliens. She thinks he's joking, until he uses Rum's communicator to trace the hunters to the local, shall I put it, Lover's Lane? So that they park their car next to the black Volkswagen and leads Debbie to a field where the hunters have just summoned a flying saucer. And the doctor confronts the new arrivals, which is Prefect Zevron of the Clade and his deputy Salak. And he realises that they are here for Miranda.
So do we want to talk about the clade at all?
Yeah, we could, yes.
It's an anagram of Dalek.
It is, yes.
It's never explicitly stated in the story, but I think the impression is, and maybe this is outlined in other novels in the Eighth Doctor range, but this is a faction of, I guess you'd say, Khaleds or Thals, or perhaps non-tentacle mutated versions of Daleks. So everyone who are part of the clade are very much blonde hair, blue-eyed, sort of that representation.
Yeah.
I wasn't aware of a lot of that background as to who this group was and why they wanted to eradicate the Time Lords, but it makes a lot of sense that they're related to Daleks when they talk about genetic purity and extermination and all of that.
So I've got a slightly different theory. I wonder whether they are people that are taking on the name, whether they're part of Miranda's people that have taken on that name entirely. And so it's kind of like a stylization kind of thing. But it is very much left open. But I mean, there is a reference later to Cladenium.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and I kind of think they have so much of the trappings that I kind of wonder, if these are people taking on the style of. Or maybe even in an original draft, they were actually Khaleds, but the Terry Nation's estate didn't allow it.
The moon of Falcus gets a mention by them as well, which is a moon of Skaro, which shows up quite a few times in different Big Finish audios and stuff.
Yeah.
So that's kind of an intriguing clue too.
Yeah, so they could be Khaleds, they could be Neo-Daleks. It's entirely up to you as to what they are.
So back to this confrontation.
Yes, taking all the attention out.
These aliens coming out of the flying saucer. So Zevran realizes that the Doctor, their race's greatest enemy, which again kind of hints towards that Dalek origin, perhaps, genuinely doesn't remember having met them before, and he may be from a period before last contact. And Zevran therefore invites him aboard the saucer to discuss Miranda, telling the hunters that their services will no longer be required. And then a servant takes the Doctor and Debbie's coats and shows them to a waiting room, where Zevran and Salak explain that Miranda is the last scion of a corrupt intergalactic empire, and her people were brutal tyrants who set in motion events which led to the devastation of the timelines.
Time War, did you say?
The first great Time War. Yes. Or the same as depicted in the new series, depending on your interpretation. So under Zevran's leadership, the corrupt factions of the Senate finally put aside their differences and united against an imperial family. And this family executed Zevran's mother, leaving him to raise his younger brother, who's called Farron, by himself. And then Zevran has declared a blood feud on this group, supposedly the Time Lords, and Miranda, last of the family, must die by his hand. And the Doctor, just appalled by this, refuses to help Zevran kill an innocent girl, and Salak thus slaps a Mind Eater onto the Doctor's head before he can react. And this Mind Eater is very similar to the memory worm we see used in the Moffat era, with perhaps a little bit more devastating results. And the Mind Eater drains what memories the Eighth Doctor has, including the memory of Miranda's pediatric chart, which the Doctor had looked up. And he also now has Miranda's home address.
Yeah, so meanwhile, Zevran and Salak, they board some hover discs which draw their power from the saucer. Somewhat Dalek, isn't it? And they depart, assuming that the now mindless Doctor is soon going to die. Instead, the Doctor recovers, and he and Debbie escape. And outside of the saucer, they find Barry, Debbie's husband, who has brought another woman to the Lover's Lane. And he is furious to find his wife there with another man. Yeah. Oh, Barry. Before he can do anything about it, the Hunter's Volkswagen transforms itself into the killer robot that attacked Arnold earlier.
This just blew my mind, and I literally shouted, "It's a transformer."
Yes. Yeah. So this robot is Mr. Gibson, the sentient mechanoid that blames the Doctor for the destruction of his world. And the Doctor can't remember any of this, though apparently all he did was free Mr. Gibson's slaves and Mr. Gibson himself panicked and set off the bomb that destroyed his own palace and queen.
And this appears to be like I was wondering, is this a reference to an earlier book or something? Like, did the Doctor visit Cybertron at some point, or...
Yeah.
But doesn't appear to be based on a novel.
No, it's... Lance does like to, make obscure references, doesn't he? But he also, as well, does like to just layer in just odd stuff to the mythos. So, this is not a reference to anything. So, as Barry's lady friend flees in her own car, the Doctor, Barry and Debbie climb into Debbie's car and drive off with Mr. Gibson in pursuit. And having driven through the Pennines, those roads are steep and windy and often have very precipitous drops. It's not a good place for a car chase. So when Barry learns that the robot's associates are trying to kill a young girl, he insists that they save her first. And the Doctor tricks Mr. Gibson into swerving off the icy roads and over a steep hill. Then he gets Debbie and Barry out of the car, and then he drives the car off after Mr. Gibson, off the road, and leaps out at the last moment. And so the car collides with Mr. Gibson and destroys him. It's quite a spectacular sequence.
It is. And it's funny how much of the setup of this novel is similar to the spin-off series Class, where you have, and this is more so in the second chunk coming up, but you have an alien royal in exile on Earth hiding among the population and assassins sent after them. It's just, the setup is very similar to Class, I feel.
Isn't it also like Benji? Wasn't there... I might put this out of my head. Wasn't there a series of Benji in which Benji the dog was looking after an alien prince that was hiding on Earth?
Oh, yeah. Benji, Zax, and the alien prince, yeah.
Yes, yes.
It is... that's a deep reference. Wow. Featuring a little flying robot that looked like a hamburger.
Yes, yeah.
So Miranda's parents are revealed to, in fact, be bodyguards. One is a bodyguard and one is a nurse from the Imperial Palace, who couldn't bear to let the rebels murder a 2-month-old child. And they realize too late that they've been located. So Kim Dawkins drugs Miranda, who's around 10 at this time, so she'll sleep through whatever is happening and then flees with her. And then Deputy Salak kills her husband in pursuit, but then Kim gets as far away as the Doctor and the castles before Zevran and Salak catch up and kill her. And then Zevran's preparing to stab Miranda through her hearts using a sacrificial knife. And I think was another reference to some of the previous books and stuff that had come before, because the ceremonial knife is sanctioned by the gods of war and legacy. And I think that's a reference to War of the Daleks and Legacy of the Daleks.
Ah, yes, could well be, yes.
But then during this sacrifice, Zevran hesitates because he's about to kill a child, and then Barry attacks him, grabs his gun, and shoots him in the head. But as he dies, Zevran slaps a mind eater onto Barry's head, sending him into a coma. And Rum and Thalish, the two hunters, watching from the saucer, decide that, enough is enough. It's time to detonate the mini nuke we've placed earlier, unaware until it's too late that the Doctor had left his code in the waiting room aboard the saucer.
Which the robot very carefully brought to them, hasn't it?
Yeah. And so the saucer explodes, which robs Salak's hover disk of its power, and he falls to Earth, pinned beneath the disk, and becomes an easy capture for the police when they finally arrive, because he's very much injured.
Yeah. Also, just picking up on Miranda's parents, because they've got the surname Dawkins. This has to be some kind of reference to Richard Dawkins, who appeared in another one of Lance Parkin's 8th Doctor books, The Dying Days. Both Richard Dawkins and his wife appear in The Dying Days.
Lalla Ward.
Yes.
One time, I think they've since.
So in the aftermath of all of this, Salak pleads guilty to avoid a trial, and he's locked up in a prison for the criminally insane. I don't know whether those things... Well, I guess those things must have existed in those times. And Barry remains in a coma for reasons unknown to 20th century medicine. And the Doctor adopts Miranda and vows to give her every opportunity to make her way in the world. And as time passes, the Doctor becomes a freelance business consultant. And what he does is he makes millions by restructuring companies without creating any redundancies. It's brilliant. It's, because whenever I've worked at a company and restructuring gets mentioned, I always, get the CV ready just in case, or the resume, to use the American term. Unfortunately, the Doctor's making a bit of a name for himself because he's making a small fortune, but eventually Salak reads about him in a newspaper and learns where he can be found because the Doctor has bought a kind of like a country house in Kent, which may or may not be the house that appears in a few Andrew Cartmel books.
The Doctor's mansion.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wondered about that because, you have the Doctor living through all this time, and it's like the house came up, but also it made me think of like, oh, the Sasha Dewan Masters, imprisoned during all this time. And
Yeah.
presumably the 8th Doctor's living through watching the 5th and 6th Doctors show up and do all manner of things in the 80s too.
Yeah. And possibly Unit, but also because of what's happened to Gallifrey, this is a slightly different timeline, maybe. I don't know. Because you've also got the 12th Doctor kicking around, possibly, for all of this at the same time.
Yeah, well, he's teaching at the university,
Yeah. So Salak breaks out of jail along with his cellmate Joel and sets up base in Joel's former home, which is an abandoned council block known to locals as the Tower. It's not explicitly stated where the tower is, apart from the fact it's in a big city. So in my mind, it's Manchester. Because it's a bit of a distance from Greyfuff, but it's not that far away.
Not as far as like London,
Yeah. So there, Salak builds a device that uses static electricity to let him communicate across time, which is a useful thing to have, isn't it?
And also the reference to static electricity, that's another
Dalek,
Dalek-related technology.
Yeah. I still like my Neo-Dalek theory. So Zevron's 18-year-old brother Farron arrives in response and tells Salak that the uneasy truce between the factions will soon break down to civil war, and Salak is needed to ensure that the Clade reigns supreme. But before they return, there's a blood feud to take care of. So, one thing I'm just going to say about the tower, the way it's described, because it's very clear that it is like an old council block tower and everything, but it's also written about in this kind of like fantastical way, like it's a fortress, like we're in some kind of like high fantasy novel.
Yeah, not quite Paradise Towers level, but it's it's sort of
But there's this kind of mythicness about it, isn't there? About how he writes about it, because like it constantly feels like it's kind of like Lord of the Rings, like it's Sauron's tower or something.
Yeah, the kind of mythic quality. Yeah.
I don't know whether it was just me picking up on that, but it found it quite interesting, an interesting take.
And during this time, of course, the story jumps about 6 years or so, and we're in the second of 3 parts of the story, and there's a reference to, Miranda's learning about worlds where moths and ants are at war, and there are licorice men and an empress who lived in a big jar, which I think is a reference to Scarlet Empress.
Yes.
And we even get Iris Wildtime showing up for a cameo. But she very much confuses the Doctor and takes off again. So.
Yes. Unfortunately, we don't see that moment, but we just hear about it. But it's delicious.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
So Miranda, by this point, she's nearly 16 years old and has grown up quite a bit, and she's on the swim team and going through teenager being hormonal and all sorts of things. And I did have to note the narrative did strike a little bit of looking at Miranda through the male gaze, I think, in parts.
Yeah.
But very much, it almost turns into like a John Hughes movie.
Yes, possibly more weird science end of John Hughes.
And Farron, who's the younger brother who showed up earlier, he's very much in the Billy Idol or James Marsters as Spike sort of description.
Yeah, and he's trying to blend in. And rather brilliantly at one scene, I think it's around about this stage, he's asked by somebody what he does, and he says, "I'm a yuppie."
Yeah, he's just a little bit off or skewed, in his responses.
Yes.
So during this time, Miranda, so they've moved from Derbyshire, and they're now, like you said, in Kent. And Miranda has a friend named Dinah who's going out with a guy named Alex, who has a friend named Bob, who's shown an interest in Miranda. And Miranda agrees to go on a date with him to a party at Dinah's home. And Farron, who's the mini Neo-Dalek emperor, also attends. And some of the chapter titles, especially in this section, are great. Like there's a chapter called The Party of Doom. It reminded me of the party in Spider-Man Homecoming, where Peter shows up at Michael Keaton's house, sort of deal, where you have this party going on, but this ever-present threat with Farron attending and trying to get Miranda alone so he can kill her with that same ceremonial knife. So after this party, where a whole bunch of almost assassination attempts happened, and the Doctor's working on a 5-dimensional equation, and she helps him solve it, unaware that it's not an intellectual puzzle, but it's coordinates that were revealed to the Doctor through like a vision where both her and the Doctor had fainted, and it indicated that someone was traveling through time nearby. And then the Doctor gets a phone call from Deputy Salak, who had escaped, and both Salak and Farron had gone to the hospital to wake up Barry Castle, who had been in a coma for the past 6 years, just so that Barry can see who's killing him. And then they've also kidnapped Barry's wife, Debbie, who's stuck with him during this time where he's in a coma. And if the Doctor wants to see Debbie alive again, he has to make his way to this tower.
Yeah. So the Doctor heads north, and so he goes to the tower, bringing with him a suitcase device that he's invented to open locks with sound waves. So yes, he has a sonic suitcase.
And this is something he'd been tinkering on for quite some time, and it's finally ready in this section of the book.
Yeah, I just thought it's fantastic. It's brilliant.
There's even some wonderful tongue-in-cheek moments where I think at one point someone says, "Even the sonic suitcase won't get me out of this one."
Yes. It can't work on wood as well, I don't think. So, So the Doctor is captured and brought before Farron in the tower.
Lance Parkin does like his tall building scenes. We've got the Doctor scaling the tower block on the outside in this one, and then in the last book we read, Trading Futures, he gets thrown out a window from an office building, and I found that interesting that you've got those tall building scenes in both of his works.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's an easy way to create a spectacular image, isn't it? Just to kind of like raise the stakes. But, So Farron and Salak have brought in reinforcements and technology from their time zone, including a device that restructures matter on a molecular level. And they've also brought with them an interrogator. And the Doctor's able to resist the interrogator for a while, though Farron conducts a second interrogation session personally and proves too strong for him. But the Doctor does manage to touch Farron's mind and senses him to be a decent man at heart, though he's been corrupted by the hatred of all of those around him. Farron, though, isn't going to listen to him. He locks the Doctor up with Debbie and sets off to kill Miranda. So if you remember Joel, who was Salak's cellmate from earlier that helped him break out, so Joel and his lover Kirst are in the tower, and they now realise that they're part of something that they don't really want to be involved in. So they question the Doctor, but eventually agree to help him when he offers them £1 million tax-free. So Joel and Kirst show him and Debbie to that restructuring unit, the one that works on a molecular level, which Joel demonstrates by transforming a couple of bricks into a pile of red roses. So the Doctor sets this device to overload and flees with Debbie, Joel and Kirst. And suddenly this transforming wave washes down the tower after them. And Farron's guards are too surprised to run. And they, along with the tower, are transformed into a mountain of red roses in the middle of Manchester. And it's quite a spectacular scene, isn't it?
Yeah, just beautiful, almost haunting imagery
Yeah.
of the tower block turning into roses, and the realizations of these soldiers as they're seeing that they're turning into roses themselves. It's just, it's like a rose explosion almost. It's quite something.
Yeah, but also just really creepy and sinister. And the Doctor does suggest, it'll definitely stop at some point. Really? How do you know? So Salak manages to escape this Rosemageddon, and he blames himself for the disaster because he knew how dangerous the Doctor could be, but still left him alive so that he could gloat at the Doctor. But Salak will not make that mistake again.
And Farron, in his characterization, reminds me quite a bit of Kazran Sardik from A Christmas Carol.
Yeah.
Where the Doctor senses good in him, but based on how he was raised and stuff, there's a lot to undo there, I think.
Yeah.
So, Farron then tracks Miranda down at the swimming pools, and he's unable to get her alone. And he retreats, telling himself that he doesn't want to make like a public scene. And he's always had this picture in his mind of this battle, with the last one as being this mythic apocalyptic fight where they're tearing each other apart with battle armor and all this stuff. And simply killing her in the swimming pool would just be this anticlimax. And then Dinah, who's quite taken by Farron and his Thal-like looks, invites him to her party because she's throwing another party. He leaves and lurks outside, telling himself that it's still not the right time. And Miranda takes Bob out to the garden and they have a kiss, but she doesn't really feel anything except having this sort of power or hold over Bob. And then after everyone else leaves, Miranda, Bob, and Dinah decide to spend the night at the house. They had been drinking, and they all kind of retreat to separate rooms. Miranda decides she's overanalyzing her own reactions and decides to join Bob in his bed, but finds that it's empty, and sure enough, Bob is in Dinah's bed with Dinah, and furious Miranda storms out of the house, and before Farron, who's been waiting outside, can make his move, the Doctor drives up and takes Miranda home with him, but he doesn't tell her about the incident at the tower. And he's really never told her anything about her past, wanting her to live a normal life. And of course, he doesn't remember a whole lot of it anyway.
Yeah, so the next morning, the Doctor drives Miranda to school and then lets Debbie talk him into reporting his stalkers to the police. Though Miranda walks away from school to seeing Bob there and meets Farron outside and accepts his offer to kind of go off and have a drink. And Farron takes her to a pub and tries to poison her drink. But he has an arrogant attitude. He refers to a barmaid as a wench. And yeah, I mean, the scenes from Farron's point of view, I can see how they could really wind the reader up the wrong way potentially. But I found them quite funny at times. Because like Farron is always thinking of her as the last one, and you just see it completely from his mindset. They can be really quite funny. Yeah, so Farron and Miranda have been thrown out of the pub before Miranda can drink her poisoned drink. And Miranda finds that she can relax a bit around Farron, and she starts to kind of like talk to him about what's troubling her. As they leave the pub, she stumbles and nearly falls in front of a car. But Farron automatically pulls her back to the curb, where they end up kissing. Miranda takes him home, but before they could go too far, the Doctor and Debbie return. And she was like, the moment is somewhat lost because Farron decides to pull a knife on Miranda and tell her everything. And he explains that her race destroyed the universe, draining whole galaxies of energy, shattering the timelines, and leaving Farron's people with advanced technology but no resources with which to use it. And he's seen the records of history in something called the Labyrinth, on something called the Needle, and knows there is no mention of her in the Labyrinth after this year. But he doesn't want to kill her, because he's now fallen in love with her, and he wants her to return with him to the future and rule by his side. And the Needle is something that's appeared in previous Lance Parkin books as a kind of like as a specialist Time Lord spaceship.
Yeah, I was reading a little bit about that, and I guess the Needle is like an old TARDIS that had belonged to someone that we've encountered in a different novel, I think mentioned in Seeing Eye.
Yeah.
And it's
Scar, isn't it?
Yeah, someone's TARDIS, and it's being stretched out by a black hole, and it's being like spaghettified, and because the TARDIS almost has infinite mass, it's like this needle that appears across the sky is like this bright line that's visible from several different solar systems, and that there are cities and civilizations and stuff living on this needle. So it's It's a fantastic setup that he explores a little bit further in some comics, which we'll get to discussing in a bit. But that portion really left me intrigued and kind of wanting to learn more about that. So then there's this revelation by Farron that he wants Miranda to become his empress, and Miranda's just stunned by this and confronts the doctor, and he's forced to admit that, everything that Farron's told her is true, at least as far as the doctor's aware. And he insists that Miranda doesn't have to listen to Farron, that she can and must make her own destiny. And it's really, at this point, too much for her to take. And she tries to flee and run away, but Farron will have none of it. He grabs her and tries to drag her back to his side. She's going to run away. He's going to use the knife on her. And so the doctor grabs his wrist, which has his recall bracelet and just enough energy to get him back to his own time, which I guess is millions of years in the future. And he activates it. And then so that sends, Farron away. And then Salak, his deputy, breaks in and holds them all at gunpoint. And this time he decides he's going to shoot the doctor first, and he's unprepared when Miranda attacks him and overpowers him. And she tries to hold him off, but he tells her that she's evil through and through, and if she lets him live, he'll never stop hunting her. So then Miranda shoots him twice, killing him. And the police arrive, summoned by the doctor's security alarms, which Salak had triggered. And the doctor, stunned, tells Miranda to go and escape while she can. And as she flees, the doctor then turns himself into the police, claiming that he shot Salak in self-defense, which, based on the evidence, that appears to be what happened. And by the time it's all sorted out, Miranda's taken off, and the doctor has no idea where she is.
One thing that's quite interesting about this version of Doctor does seem a little bit more relaxed around violence, I would say. I mean, he does try to stop Miranda from shooting, but he also didn't think twice about the whole flower thing and doesn't seem to show much remorse about it.
Yeah, in terms of his character, yeah.
Yeah.
And I guess I was worried a little bit with this set during the Amnesia arc that it wouldn't feel very Doctor Who, but, I mean, the book very much does, in the same way that the Third Doctor's era still felt like Who, when he was exiled to Earth, or in Human Nature when he was living as a human. But, yeah, you bring up a great point that his attitude and reaction towards violence isn't quite the same as it might have been otherwise.
But then, during his sixth incarnation, he could be a bit more violent than all this. So,
Or the fugitive doctor picking up a gun and getting ready to use it with no hesitations or qualms.
Yeah, that's true. And also there are echoes, isn't there, of the fugitive doctor in the setup of Miranda and her guards who are living in secret. So I think that most of the showrunners have read this book, haven't they?
Yeah, I think so.
Because you see this in Moffat, you see this in Chibnall, you see this in RTD, the Doctor's daughter.
You see it in Class.
Yes, yeah. So,
yeah.
But,
Now we're on to part 3.
Yes, Defenders of the Earth, yeah. So 3 years pass, and the Doctor and Miranda still haven't been in contact, and the Doctor doesn't know where she is. So we are now in November 1989. Survival is airing on BBC One. but in the context of this book, the Berlin Wall is falling. And I remember the night that the Berlin Wall fell, my mum saying to me, "You are always going to remember this night for the rest of your life." And I remember her saying that, but I also don't really remember quite grasping the significance of it. But anyway, so the Doctor's in Berlin whilst the wall is falling. He's helping bring it down, which I think feels very doctor-y, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And also, I wonder whether this is a subtle reference. There is a photograph of Sylvester McCoy in 1989 at the Berlin Wall as a publicity shot for Doctor Who on German television.
Huh. I don't know that I've ever seen that.
Oh, okay. Yeah, he's got his brolly with him, and he's poking it up, but not over the edge of the Berlin Wall, but it is leaning on the wall.
Huh.
That's how it is in my mind. It might be less dramatic than that. I've not seen the image in quite some time. But anyway, so the Doctor's in Germany, the Berlin Wall's falling, and Miranda, meanwhile, is in India, having a relaxing evening with a German tourist. And this tourist will later go on to direct an autobiographical film that will depict the most significant events of his life. And this film will survive in one form or another until Farron's time. And also, as well, this movie wins the 2017 Oscar for Best Interactive Movie.
I must have missed that category.
Yeah. Well, wasn't 27? Was that the one where the wrong Oscars were getting handed out, or was that 2018? I can't remember. So maybe Warren Beatty was supposed to award it that night. But yeah. So when Miranda steps out onto the balcony of the hotel next morning, she is in fact transmasted aboard a flying saucer that is hovering above wherever this is in India, and takes her up into Earth's orbit. And all of this is captured on film. So anyway, but yeah, so Farron's in the UFO, and he is no longer the young, fit man she remembers, because 20 years have passed for him, and he's spent these in the labyrinth, seeking Miranda and the other secrets of his past. And so he says, it's like, I'm in my 40s. I was like, oh, don't tell me I'm old. I know I am, but don't tell me that. I'm still in my 20s-ish now.
Same.
Yes. But yeah, the ship that Farron's on is this 4-kilometre-long flagship called the Supremacy. But it's not actually a creation of his people, but it's a relic from a past time that might have been erased from history, as the Supremacy crashed on the Needles some time ago, and his people are still learning its secrets. Soon he feels certain they're going to be able to build a fleet of similar ships and unite the warring factions from his time. And he has a deputy with him called Kate, who's also his lover, and she seems to believe that only Farron can prevent the ruined future from falling into anarchy. But Miranda knows that Farron's just going to repeat the same acts that his brother called atrocities when the family was responsible for them.
Yeah. So then the Doctor and Debbie learn of the UFO sighting in India, and they intend to investigate, but then as the Doctor sets off to collect her, and there's a scene where he has a conversation with Betty Stoble, who's dying, and I looked her up, and she's from, I guess, The Burning, which was book 1 in the Earth arc.
Yeah.
And you get kind of a him saying goodbye moment that, for me, echoed Captain America meeting up with Peggy Carter.
Yeah, and also as well, Blink. Sally Sparrow meeting
Billy Shipton.
Yeah, Billy Shipton.
Huh. Yeah.
Yeah, Moffat's definitely read this, hasn't he?
Yeah. So then the Doctor's trying to find Miranda, and he buys some gasoline with his credit card and leaving a record of his location at that point in time for records in the future. So Farron then shows Miranda how to use the Supremacy's telepathic controls, and she finds records relating to the Doctor and surreptitiously sends him a telepathic message explaining what's happening. And the Supremacy will be stuck in Earth orbit for 3 days while its systems conduct minor repairs to its time travel drive.
Convenient, that, isn't it?
Yeah. So the Doctor has that long to reach her. And so instead of going to India like he planned, he and Debbie change course and decide to go to Florida instead to hitch a ride on the space shuttle Atlantis. So there's this fantastic sequence where they're slipping through the cracks in the launch procedure routine and use the sonic suitcase to board the shuttle through a hatch, which is supposedly impossible to close from the outside. And this is also post-Challenger, so there's a lot of talk about that, but it's at the same time it's pre the destruction of the Columbia, which would happen 2 years after this book was published. They're able to sneak aboard, and they reveal their presence to the flight crew, which fortunately was a smaller mission. With the shuttle could have up to 7 passengers, and they had only 4, so they have 6 now. And before the stunned astronauts can react, their shuttle arrives over India, and the Supremacy is revealed in orbit. And that changes their mission objective. And it's quite fortunate that one of the astronauts on board is Felix Mather, who we learn by the time of Trading Futures has been elected president of the United States. And he's referenced, I think, also in Death Comes to Time.
Yes, he is in Lance Parkin books, the kind of like I said during Trading Futures, he's the Felix Leiter to the Eighth Doctor's James Bond. I think it's probably a fair comparison. But one of the reasons why the Doctor's able to get even remotely close to the Atlantis is the fact that his company has helped make some of the parts, and specifically the mirror. And it's kind of implied that the mirror actually has a fault in it, which makes me think of the Hubble. Because the Hubble Space Telescope was kind of being built round about this time in real life, like, sort of like the early 90s. And I remember that it seemed to be working fine, apart from the fact that the mirror was the incorrect size. And I had a recollection that the British press were emphasising that the mirror was the only thing that was made by a UK company. I then looked into this, and it looks like it was made by an American company, so I don't know quite what. Although I remember there being lots of kind of like indignation in the UK press about it. So, but anyway.
And the device that mirror is attached to is like a military laser that was the original mission for the Atlantis. And I wonder if this is intentional, but the Atlantis, of all the different space shuttles in the fleet, that was the space shuttle that was used for classified military missions. So when you look at the missions that shuttle was involved with, several of them are still classified to this day. Yeah. The last time I was in Los Angeles for Gallifrey 1, when we could travel, one of the highlights that I'll never forget was getting to stand underneath the Space Shuttle Endeavour. It was just incredible to see that in person.
Yeah.
There's a similar steal a space shuttle scene, I think, that happens in both Face of the Enemy and At Childhood's End. So, not the first or last time the Doctor's involved in stealing a space shuttle.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it was a cool image, isn't it?
Yeah.
Though also I do wonder, would they really have like an ex-Delta Force operative or even an undercover Delta Force operative as an astronaut for putting this secret space hardware into action?
Possibly, yeah. I don't know. Yeah.
I thought they would just they would brief in whoever the technicians were that were having to deal with it.
A lot of the people that did fly on the Atlantis in particular were either Air Force or had some military connection. So it feels like Lance Parkin's done his research here, I think, for some of this.
Well, I think Lance Parkin does tend to. Apparently, in Cold Fusion, there's various weather changes that seem to kind of reflect the weather in England between the two Fifth Doctor stories in which Cold Fusion is set. And I remember there's a Doctor Who magazine review at the time, so I was like, I'm sure this is not a coincidence. So I'm like, yeah, I think Lance Parkin does an impressive amount of research, particularly in a time in which Wikipedia isn't available. So we're all up in space, and the shuttle has seen the supremacy. So on the supremacy, so Miranda has got the genetic codes necessary to enter restricted areas of the labyrinth and access all the secrets of her people's past. And this is why Farron has returned for her, because he sees her only as property, just like Kate. And then we get a revelation for what Kate is short for. It's not short for Catherine, it's short for duplicate. Because Kate is a replica of Miranda, who Farron has created just to impose his will on her. And I found this as a complete surprise. And the thing was, I've read this book before, I'd forgotten. And he's planted pain inductors, as Farron, on all of his subjects to ensure their submission, so that the strong always conquer the weak. And Miranda, though, remembers the Doctor's teachings and insists that the universe doesn't work that way. And Kate, believing her, snaps and attacks Farron. And Farron uses a pain inducer to punish her, but is then called up to the flight deck to deal with an emergency and gives the inducer to Miranda so she can have a taste of power. But instead what she does is she asks Kate to help her escape, and Kate agrees to do so. Meanwhile, when Farron is on the flight deck, he learns that the space shuttle Atlantis is approaching, and that the Doctor is demanding Miranda's release. Farron just laughs, because the shuttle doesn't have any weapons, and it couldn't even scratch the supremacy if it went directly into it. And also, the computer on the supremacy will respond only to Farron's voice print. The Doctor, therefore, mimics Farron's voice over the radio and orders supremacy to shut down all but essential life support systems for 20 minutes, thus allowing the Atlantis to dock safely. And furious at this, Farron sets off to kill the Doctor himself, because everybody in his time knows legends of the Doctor. The Doctor is this man who kidnapped innocents, turned them into monsters and terrorists, and brought darkness to the universe. Now Farron is going to meet him face to face and win. Now, the Doctor's voice mimicry, that's a useful skill, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Within the context of the novel itself, they do set it up earlier where I think Miranda is taught this along with other Time Lord related skills by the Doctor. So I think there's a scene where she uses the voice mimicry and some of her John Hughes goings on the telephone. So we do get a scene of that. But I don't think it's ever been referenced in the show like that. I mean, this is almost Terminator level qualities of things going on here.
Yeah.
So then Miranda's working with Kate to try and get off of the supremacy, and she plans to steal one of the saucers because I don't think she's aware about the shuttle, just that Farron had to leave to deal with something. So she's trying to steal a saucer, and then the doctor's verbal command shuts down power to the entire supremacy for like 20 minutes, and her and Kate are stranded in basically a turbo lift in an unexplored region of the supremacy, and there they meet some of the escaped slaves named Graytor and Tarvin, who are hiding out there, and they're surprised to meet the legendary Last One, and even more surprised when she offers to help them escape. And Kate doesn't want to throw in her lot with slaves, but Miranda, irritated at this, points out that she too is a slave, and uses the pain inducer to prove her point, which not the nicest way, but hey, they're on a timeline. So the power loss has affected the pain inducer as well. So if none of the inducers work, then the slaves can turn on their guards and stage a more massive revolt. And Kate knows that many of the guards will also join them willingly because they too, have the pain inducers. And so Miranda changes her plan. So instead of escaping, she's going to lead a revolt with the objective to take over the supremacy.
Yeah, she's very much her father's daughter, isn't she?
Yeah.
Yeah. So the Atlantis docks at the supremacy. And the Doctor sets off with Debbie and Felix Mayfair / Felix Leiter, and they're separated from him when a bulkhead slams shut between them. So that's the Doctor and Debbie on one side and Felix on the other. And so they continue on alone, but Farron has set a trap for them at Miranda's quarters. And Debbie is electrocuted when she tries to open the door. And this is such a shock. Because at one point it's like, oh, this is a fake error. It's like, no, she is killed.
Yeah, and this, I have to say, really upset me.
Yeah.
Like, it infuriates the Doctor, it infuriated me, to the point where, in this maybe tipping my hand a little bit, I did take a point off.
Yeah.
For the killing of Debbie, because you have so much invested in her over the course of a decade, and, she really is, she functions as the Doctor's companion in this story.
Also to Miranda, I would say.
Yeah. And Miranda, I would almost put her in a different category, her being a Time Lord, she's almost like a Romana sort of. Yeah. But yeah, the treatment of Debbie here, and it, in a way, it acts this trope, but it acts as a fridging, right? Because it spurs the Doctor on to motivate him to clean house here, and it's just, it was senseless and just unnecessary, I felt. But I'll hold out. till the review section, but it bugged me.
Yeah, I think we're on a similar page. But anyway, we have to carry on. So the Doctor attacks Farron, sort of proving Farron's point that the battle of the strong of the weak is all that the universe comes down to in the end. And Farron beats the Doctor nearly to death, or at least so he thinks, until Kate arrives and announces that he has in fact killed the Doctor. And Farron is slightly disappointed by it, feels a bit anticlimactic, and he returns to the bridge and he discovers that there's a rebellion full underway. And with Felix's help, the rebels have captured most of the ship, except for the flight deck and the engine room. But Farron's response is to switch off life support everywhere else. So Kate tries and fails to stop him. But then the Doctor and Miranda burst in before Farron realises what's happening. The Doctor again mimics his voice and transfers control of the ship to himself and Miranda, and Farron simply cannot understand that Kate has lied to him, because once again the legendary Doctor has returned from the dead, and even the Doctor's adopted daughter has started a revolution in less than 10 minutes. But Farron has been raised to seek revenge. It's in his blood, and so he transmats himself to the engine room, refusing to accept defeat.
So then the Doctor and Miranda follow him to the engine room to find that Mather and Tarkin are trying to break in, but they're saved the effort when an elderly man in his mid-20s opens the door and staggers out. And the engineers, when they tried to surrender, Farron had uncoupled the time engines, releasing time spillage, which killed all the engineers and aged them to death, and will soon destroy the supremacy itself. And this time spillage will expand and will encompass all of the Earth, and indeed even the solar system. So if they let this continue, Earth will become a desert wasteland, and by tomorrow the sun will have expanded into the size of a red giant, consuming the Earth, like we saw depicted in The End of the World. The Doctor and Miranda may or may not be immune to this effect, but they decide to forge ahead and enter the engine room, where they find Farron dressed in a protective suit and operating the controls. And while the doctor enters the engine's central sphere to repair the damage, Miranda tries to convince Farron that none of this is necessary. She knows him well enough to know that he hasn't appointed a successor who might have challenged him for power, and without Farron and the supremacy, his people will be overrun by their enemies. He's about to destroy everything that he said he's been trying to protect, but it doesn't have to end with one of them dead, and she mentions that there are other ways that they could get through this.
So the Doctor subconsciously identifies the equipment in the sphere, and whilst conducting repairs, he orders the engines to shut themselves down 3 days in the past, thus giving himself the time he needs to follow Miranda into orbit. Not quite sure how that works, but hey-ho.
That I thought was clever.
Yeah, it is clever, yeah.
If you're in a time-distorted thing, you can perhaps do that.
Yeah, I mean, this bit was reminding me of the end of the 12th Doctor's era, with kind of like World Enough and Time, and because that also has a vast ship with different kind of like temporal things going on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so as time is kind of moving around him, he catches glimpses of his future, which includes a swarm of wasps, somebody called Mr. Saudomir, violin music in the heart of a thunderstorm, a planet called Albert, and a robot with flashing lights on its domed head and a camera eye stalk. One of those references I got. But, yeah.
Yeah, I think Eater of Wasps is one of them, and
yes.
There's even a reference to other books that are happening in the future. So this is just I thought was a cool bit of foretelling where they obviously had some of these books worked out here in advance, and he was able to like do these throw forwards, which is really cool.
And they were going to be using the Daleks again, but unfortunately they couldn't secure a deal with Terra Nations people. So, yeah. But anyway, so the Doctor completes his work and emerges to find that Miranda and Farron have come to an understanding. They address the assembled crew, who are now all equals, apart from Miranda. As Miranda has been appointed as supreme ruler of the universe, and thus she has the power to declare that there will be no more rulers. And people in the crowd sort of say, but isn't there going to be anarchy? And she kind of goes, yeah, there will be anarchy, and everyone will be free. So no one will be forced to fight beside them, but if they choose to do so, they can stand united against the evils of their own time and make a better future together. Which sounds lovely, but a little bit of me kind of thinks, yeah, this is going to go badly wrong, isn't it?
Yeah. And there's some references here too to the Alliance of the 12 Galaxies, which they may or may not be a part of or would be considering joining. That was a group that was first mentioned in Dragonfire and was most recently mentioned in The Ghost Monument in Jodie Whittaker's first season. So that was a lovely little touch there.
Yeah.
So to then wrap this up, the Doctor then forgives Farron as best he can for Debbie's death. I still haven't forgiven Farron for that.
Or Lance, yeah.
Or Lance. But after all, the Doctor's responsible himself for the death of Farron's brother, and they have to draw a line before they destroy each other and all else besides. And Miranda asks the Doctor to come to the future with her, or to let her search the ship's archives for some mention of Fitz, or the Doctor in his police box. And he turns down her offers. He knows that she's capable of handling her new role, and he's so close to his appointment with Fitz, which is in 2001, that it would feel like cheating to learn about the answer in advance. So Farron, at some point during this time too, references several records of the Doctor's activities in the last years of the 20th century, including incidents in Baghdad, which is a nod to interference, at the Lloyd's building in London, which is bullet time, and then the Martian invasion in the Dying Days, as well as the Kulan invasion, which is from Escape Velocity, which is the very next book.
Yeah.
So some more throw forwards here, which is cool.
Yeah.
So the Doctor returns to Atlantis with Mather, and then they watch as the ship, no longer named the Supremacy, returns to a future among the stars. And the Doctor knows he'll be doing the same one day soon.
Yep. And there ends Father Time.
Yeah.
What did you make of it, Matt?
I liked it a lot for the most part, apart from the death of Debbie. Another part that I have a little bit of criticism with is, some awkwardness around the way Miranda is described sometimes. And, of course, you don't have the Doctor functioning at 100% capacity, so
Yeah.
there's that. But yeah, I thought it was a fun adventure. I liked how it had the 3 different time frames. It almost in a way felt like 3 different novellas collected together,
Yeah.
in that you had, very distinct enemies for each section, and different set pieces for each. And
Yeah.
I was worried going into this that being set, book 5 of a 6-book arc, like how much of this am I going to miss? And it just came together really well, and it was really enjoyable and felt 80s, but as you said, it's not too 80s where you're not overwhelmed with like neon everywhere and stuff and shoulder pads. But
Yeah, I mean, it's not like there's loads of historical reference, like Bob Geldof doesn't rock up, or Ronald Reagan or Margaret Thatcher or anything.
yeah, I liked it. What did you think?
Yeah, honestly, I enjoyed it. I've never read any of the other books in this arc. Yeah, and I felt I was able to understand it pretty well, and it was great. I mean, I think I prefer the first act, but I mean, going on to what you were saying about novellas, I mean, I think he manages a neat trick of it not feeling episodic, even though it's 3 distinct acts. But because there is this kind of like through line, and I mean, it really does feel like a novel rather than a collection of like short stories. And it's just really cool to see a story pan out over the course of a decade. And also, there's so many lovely little references to other parts of Doctor Who's history, and there's a reference that he spent some time with a woman called Claudia, which apparently is a reference to a Virgin Books' shall we say, adult range of books.
Oh, I know what you're referring to, and I did pick up a few of those at the time.
Yes.
Including one written by under a pseudonym.
Yeah, well, so this book centres around an amnesiac character called Dr. Paul Bowman, who apparently is a thinly veiled version of the 8th Doctor. Yeah, I mean, I only noticed that reference because of having read about it. But did you see there was a set visit that BBC did?
No. What?
So, as part of the promotion of it, and you can have a look at this if you go onto the TARDIS fandom page for Father Time, there's a link to it via the Wayback Machine of the fake set visit that was done. They're basically, I think they're implying that this is the season finale, and there's kind of like interviews with Lance Parkin, there's interviews with Paul McGann.
Wow.
Yeah, and it's brilliant, but also at that time, I don't think my heart was still broken by the fact that there wasn't an ongoing TV series featuring Paul McGann's Doctor. So I think I'd just found it too painful to read. Because also, as well, around about this time, I'd stopped reading the books because I think I just kind of gone, it's just never coming back, and the flame had died for me. And university got in the way and various other things. But I did enjoy it. But as I say, I think the first section is the strongest. But all 3 have spectacular sequences and great characterization. It's just like, he shouldn't have killed Debbie. He really shouldn't have. And I think if this book was being done today, I don't think Debbie would have died.
Yeah.
Because she really didn't have to.
Yeah.
At all. And it just feels like an awful reward for a character who's been through everything like this.
Yeah.
But then again, says me, who last time we spoke I was saying that, Ace could have died and that would have made sense. But...
Yeah. And this, it felt differently written from Trading Futures. That book, one of the criticisms I had about it is it almost felt outlined in parts, where it was more telling rather than showing. And this, I was surprised. It felt more intimate, things unfolding through conversation.
Yeah.
And I wonder if that was a result of like Lance Parkin trying to emulate Ian Fleming's writing style with Trading Futures, because here it just felt so much more naturalistic.
Yeah. Well, also, I think around about this time, Lance Parkin's working on Emmerdale, which is a soap that is set in the Yorkshire Dales, but not a million miles away from like the Peak District. So I do wonder whether some of that is bleeding through. Yeah.
I also like that it didn't go too far down the 80s rabbit hole, although I did appreciate that Walden Books did get a shout out. I bought many a new and missing adventure there back in the 90s, that and B. Dalton, so... Yeah. I was very pleased to see a one-off reference to that when the Doctor was traveling to Florida.
Yeah.
It does make me wish, too, that I had collected the Miranda comic, which was a spin-off from this. It was planned for 6 issues and was canceled after 3. one of two Doctor Who comic spin-offs from 2003 that was canceled early, the other being Faction Paradox comic, which was canceled after 2 issues. But it did make me want to learn more about Miranda and especially the setup with the needle and all of that. And it's a shame that we didn't get more from her there. I know she returns in the 8th Doctor book Sometime Never.
Yeah.
But apart from that...
Now, here's the thing. I enjoyed her character, but I didn't really feel that we needed to hear more from her, necessarily. So I think of those 2 comics, I would have gone for the Faction Paradox. I think that's the Lawrence Miles fan in me speaking. But I was also kind of comparing this to my memories of the Doctor's daughter. And this, I feel, is a far more compelling setup. And I think this handles the crazy idea, in quotes, of the Doctor having a daughter, I think, far better and in a more interesting way than the Doctor's daughter does. But, which... I think the one good thing that's come from that story is David Tennant and Georgia Tennant. I can't remember her. Georgia Moffat. That's it. But because they have been such a delight on Twitter and everything. So so Father Time leads to that and leads to Staged.
Yeah, it does.
Think.
It's
Yes.
in a way. Yeah. So how would you score this one?
8. It would have been higher, but for the Debbie-ness of it.
Yeah. For me, it was... I had originally, as I was reading it, I was thinking, this might be a 9 out of 10 for me.
Yeah.
And what was keeping it from being a 10 was, again, some of the awkwardness around how Miranda's described sometimes. And also, you don't have the Doctor functioning at 100% capacity. But then, killing Debbie, I was like, nope, point off for that too. So it's an 8 out of 10 for me as well.
Yeah.
But it was a really satisfying read, and it's just joy to read through it. And it did, in some ways, echo human nature for me. There are a few beats in this story that are similar to that earlier work, but there's also enough of a difference, and, it's a longer time period that it doesn't feel derivative, and it's exploring different aspects of the human condition. So, it was very well done. Yeah.
You see why, in my mind, I kind of thought it could be done as a Christmas special on the telly.
Oh, yeah, for sure. It would have made it a good one.
I was sure it was set at Christmas, my memory of it.
There's a lot of snow everywhere.
Yeah, there is a lot of snow. So.
As I'm looking out the window, it's snowing here right now, so it definitely fits. And hey, we still got to read, even though this episode's coming out in February. We did read and record it in January, so we are keeping that tradition alive, too, of doing something 8th Doctor related in January.
Yeah, right. Okay. So I think we now need to see what feedback we've got, don't we?
Yeah, let's do that. So we don't have any new emails this month, but we could be reading your letter aloud right now, so please do drop us a line.
Yes.
At andwbcpodcast@gmail.com. Anything you want to share about this book, your impressions about it, or any of our previous episodes, or just positive words of encouragement, or any of the above are appreciated. So please do drop us a line there.
Yes, help us find our way through the pandemic, yes.
How about on the Facebook?
So we got complimented by Max Twemlow for another fun episode, and he said it pronounced his name perfectly. I hope I've done it right again. That's been good. We had an usual array of likes. As with every month, I think the action is primarily on Twitter, isn't it?
We got some good comments on Twitter. So we've heard from Chap with Wings, who says that Ground Zero was a great era in the comic strip and almost as great as the era that followed it. So I think he's referencing
the 8th Doctor.
Yeah, the 8th Doctor stuff.
Yeah, I think it's part of the same era, I would say.
Yeah, it's pretty much the same team, isn't it?
Yeah, from here on in for the next 5 or 6 years, yeah.
And then Gallifrey's Most Wanted podcast said it was a great story to cover, and they enjoyed it. And then longtime listener Keith Say thanks us for the Ground Zero podcast and mentions he's very much looking forward to our Father Time episode, and he loves the Earth arc of stories that this novel is a part of.
Cool.
Great feedback there. Do give us a follow on Twitter and Facebook. Cool.
Right.
So I think we're at the part, Chris, where you let me know what we're going to be reading next month.
Yes.
And we're getting down to just a small handful of doctors it could possibly be. So
yeah.
I'm very much intrigued.
So I'm going to take us a little bit forward in the Doctor's timeline. In fact, almost up to date. We're going to be checking with the 13th Doctor.
Ah,
So I want to just check in with Graham and Ryan and Yaz as they experience Molten Heart by Una McCormack.
ooh, exciting.
Yes, because we read one Una.
Yeah.
Yes, and that was rather good, I thought, from memory. We're going to spend some time with Una McCormack, who is great fun on Twitter. Do follow her, she is very funny. That's what we're going to be reading, Molten Heart.
Excellent. I'm excited. I definitely want more with this TARDIS team, and
Yes.
was kind of sad to see them broken up.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah, I nearly went for them last time, but then I kind of thought, well, you don't know what's going to happen at the New Year's Day episode.
And I think this one is read by Dan Starkey,
I think it is, yes.
console room guest of honor.
Yes, yeah.
Exciting.
So yeah, hopefully it's going to be good. I've not heard much about it, but though the things I have heard seem to indicate that it's good, and it's Una McCormack, so I think we'll be in safe hands with it.
Yeah, and it's not like you had a ton to choose from either from the 13th. There's a limited selection of books available.
There is. And one of those authors we've recently done under another name. So, yes.
Very cool. So I'm very much looking forward to that. So until next month, this has been Matt in Minnesota.
Chris in South London. Happy reading and stay safe.
Thank you for listening to the all-new adventures of the Doctor Who Book Club podcast. Special thanks to George C. Music for use of their song Doctor Who theme Swing Jazz version. You can follow us on Twitter at ANDWBC Podcast and like us on Facebook. Help other listeners to find us by leaving a rating or review on Apple Podcasts or your podcatcher of choice. You can contact the show by emailing your thoughts to andwbcpodcast@gmail.com. And until next month, happy reading.
Cool.
All right.
I'm going to go ahead and hit stop on the record.
Yep, I'll do that over here as well.
I hung up the wrong button.
Yeah, fair enough. Okay.
I was like, end recording. Oh, no. Wrong
Chris,
big
right.
red button.
Yes.
Whoops.
All right, that's fine. Yeah, and for some reason it wasn't coming up. I could hear you ringing. It wasn't. I was like, what's going on?